Hi, I'm Alex Edsel, and I'm going to be talking about email signatures. An email signature is that section at the end of an email where you put down your name and some information. It is a good way to make an impression, a good way to introduce yourself, and even can be a good way to market for your company. For your email signature, you're going to want to include some basic information about yourself, such as your name, some kind of contact information, the company that you work for if it's a work-related email, and your job title. You can also include a link to the website, and if your company requires it, you're going to want to use a disclaimer or privacy policy statement, but you generally want that underneath, maybe smaller font, less noticeable color, something that won't stick out as much, but it still needs to be there for legal purposes. You can see this email signature that I have right here. It's fairly simple, just has some basic information, and it'd be a good signature at the end of your email. Some other things that you can include that aren't necessarily as important are things like your company logo, a picture of yourself, and a link to some of your social media profiles. Again, you can use this email signature as a way of marketing, so including some of these things can benefit your company, but you don't want it to get too cluttered with maybe all of your social media profiles. You don't want 4 links down there, so try and keep it simple just to a couple of these things, otherwise it can get too big and too messy. There are some things that you also don't want to include in your email signature. I wouldn't include your email address. You're already sending an email from that address, so if they needed to get that, then it's already there. It's kind of redundant to include that in your email signature. It's not the worst thing to include, but it is a little bit redundant. You also don't want a complicated design. You don't want too many pictures. You don't want too many links, too many fonts, too many colors. It just gets unpleasant for the eye and takes away from it. You also just don't want too much information on there. You can see the picture that I added here. It has phone number, fax, mobile, email, address, and everything, and it gets to be way too much. That's just such a long, unpleasant email signature to look at. It's much better to keep it simple. You don't want to include too much information. You just want to include the necessary information that you really want to push out, and if the person wanted to know more, then they could ask. Here's an example of some email signatures that I believe people have done and done it well. You can see the top one for Gracie Smith has a picture of herself, doesn't take up too much space, also has the logo. It's a nice font, it's all kind of simple, organized well. It does have her email in it, but that's not the worst thing. And it's just overall a nice signature. You have the one underneath it too by Rebecca Binney. That one's just more text-based, still has a nice design to it, a little more simple, but still would be a good email signature to include. And the last one by Josh Harley includes a disclaimer at the bottom. Notice how it's a much smaller font, not really focused. Your eyes don't really focus on it because it kind of blends into the background, but it still needs to be there for legal purposes. So that's a tasteful way of doing it.